Hi, welcome to Oma's Kitchen.
Oregano.
Today let's make Puerto Rican rice. This recipe makes a large pot of very flavorful rice. It includes olives and some very mild pepper flavors. So let's talk about the ingredients. I use basmati rice, but you could use jasmine rice or just plain white rice if you want. I like the nutty flavor basmati rice gives to any rice dish that I'm making. You could use canola oil if you'd like, but today I'm using a little bit of peanut oil in the bottom of the pan. The actual original recipe for Puerto Rican rice calls for both sofrito, which is a tomato cooking base, but it also calls for requeito, which is a cilantro cooking base. Where I live, can only find the sofrito. I can't seem to get the requeito here. So if you can find it, you should buy both. In this recipe, we will use about a tablespoon of this in the bottom of the pan. If you can find both, use a tablespoon of both. This recipe also includes Goya Saison, the orange one, not the yellow one. This is coriander, and I'm going to include about 2.5 of the packets inside this container in my whole pot of rice. We also include whole corn with the juice, dark red kidney beans with the liquid in the can. I have a jar of diced pimentos here. These are actually little mild peppers that get stuffed into olives, but we want to add some extra pimentos into the pot. So all of these go in there with the rice. We also have, I use better than bouillon, but you could use chicken broth or vegetable broth if you wanted to, and about 1.5 cups of filtered water. And I'm going to use this to make chicken broth to put in our rice. So let's get started. We will put about a tablespoon. You know, don't really measure. You could measure a tablespoon if you want. And get it started on medium-low heat for the moment. I'm going to use a tablespoon of sofrito, which comes out of there. It's green peppers, onions, garlic, olive oil, and tomatoes. And you really just want about a tablespoon of that in the bottom of the pan as well. Medium heat, kind of mix the sofrito in with the oil. You're actually going to fry the rice a little bit. What I have here is 2.25 cups of basmati rice that I have rinsed and drained. You really shouldn't cook rice right out of the container because where has it been? You really should just rinse it before you actually use it in any recipe. So I'm going to add 2.25 cups of rinsed basmati rice to the pan. Always throw a grain of rice on the floor. That's how you know you've been cooking. So we're going to turn this back up a little bit, and we're going to mix the rice around with the sofrito and the oil. Get the rice sort of coated in the oil. Turn it up a little bit to medium heat until I can hear it start to fry a little bit. The nice thing about this recipe is it's one pot. The goal at the end of adding all of your ingredients is to have the liquid about 1 inch above the rice and ingredients mixed together. So, and then you're going to let it cook like that. All right, you can hear it starting to cook a little bit. Once it starts to fry a little, then we'll start to add our ingredients in. And this recipe, you actually want the liquid from the corn, you want the liquid from the can of beans, and the olive juice, and the liquid from the canned pimento. So all of that gets dumped into the pot and actually helps to flavor your rice as it cooks. In goes our beans. Such a nice sound. With the liquid from the beans. In goes our corn. Okay, so we have those two. Big container of big, beautiful olives. The whole container. When they said stuffed olives, didn't realize that meant stuffed into the bottle. There we go. We have our little jar of pimentos. I want a jar of extra pimentos in there. You can find these near the olives in your grocery store. Okay, so obviously our liquid is not an inch above the rice and ingredients. Turn this up. So we will add broth to the pot. Actually, I probably could use a little extra. I think I'll just add a little water. I made a very, very flavorful broth anyway. Okay, that's probably closer to what we need. Okay, so the very last thing I add, once I have the water to about an inch above the rice and ingredients, looks like a party in there, doesn't it? Turn it all the way up to high. I will add about 2.5 of these packets, and it will turn your rice orange. Orange. Yeah. It's coriander. Turns your rice orange. Yes, orange. That's about 2.5. The rice absorbs the liquid as it cooks, so you need an inch of water. Once you've added all your ingredients, you need an inch of water above the rice and ingredients, because once you bring this to a boil, it soaks up all this orange liquid and it turns your rice orange as it cooks. And that's where you get a lot of the flavor from this rice. I love the olive flavor through it too, from all the olives and the olive juice. So once we can bring this up to a boil, we will cover it, and then we will cook it for between 20 and 24 minutes. You need to bring it to a rolling boil first before you cover it, and then we'll turn the temperature down to low, cover it, and let it cook. Let me stir it a little bit. Make sure it's not sticking to the bottom of the pan as it starts to boil. I have to mention the kind of rice you use as well. Don't use brown rice in this recipe. Brown rice takes about 45 minutes to cook, and it adds a flavor to this recipe that does not go well with the Goya Sazon that's in there. Use a white rice, which can take 20 to 24 minutes, and it depends on the kind of rice that you use. Just plain white rice, or jasmine rice, or basmati rice. Each of those, it might be a minute difference between the three kinds of rice and how you cook it. White rice cooks the fastest, and I would only cook that for 20 to 21 minutes. I'm going to do this for 22. Basmati rice is a little bit larger grain. Ooh, now we're boiling. Okay. Let me cover this. Turn it down to low. And I'm going to set my timer for 22 minutes.
It smells really good.
Okay, we've cooked this on low for 22 minutes after bringing it to a boil. I've turned off the fire and I've let it sit for a couple of minutes to let the rice finish absorbing the liquid. So now we're going to open it up, let all that steam come out. Beautiful. Isn't that beautiful? Can you smell that?
Yeah, it smells delicious.
You need to like olives to make this rice. The olive flavor, the salty olive flavor gets all through it. The corn and the beans in it, it's wonderful. Thank you for joining me in Oma's Kitchen. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll upload more tasty videos soon, and a special shout out to Moon Pie and Lil Bit. Till next time.